Madam President, I want to first of all thank my friend, the senator from Connecticut, for his comments today and for his leadership on this issue, which is of such enormous importance. I have been a long-time supporter of the Second Amendment, but I think so many Americans after Newtown, the status quo just didn't cut it anymore. And the senator and so many others have continued to come down and raise the issue that at least we ought to make sure we have a system in place in this country to prevent criminals and those with serious mental impairment from purchasing firearms. I think it is the most reasonable of all proposals, and I thank the senator for not letting us on the Senate floor forget that tragedy and forget that issue. But I have a sense, and I don't know whether, I'm sure it is the same in Connecticut, and it probably is the same in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but the American people haven't forgotten. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have somebody coming up and saying, you got to bring that back up. So I, again, thank the senator for his good work, and I think he and we, and those of us who want to put appropriate, reasonable restrictions that the vast majority of law-abiding gun owners support in place, we will have another day in this hall. Madam President, I know a lot of my colleagues have also been down today talking about the budget, and an issue that I've, some would say, been a little obsessed about over the 4 years that I've been here. And I want to come and talk about that tomorrow, but at least tangentially, I want to raise that same issue in my comments today, because this week we celebrate Public Service Recognition Week to honor public servants at all levels of government for their admirable patriotism and contributions to our country. We talk about budgets sometimes, we forget that a lot of the resources we pay in taxes that go to budgets actually hire Americans who go to work every day trying to make our country a safer place to live and a better place to live. And quite honestly, the vast majority of folks who work in public service go about doing it with very little recognition for the work they do. Now, since 2010, when I had the opportunity as a freshman senator to preside more than I'd like to, I used to see then Senator Ted Kaufman would come down to the floor and almost every week talk about a federal employee. And when Ted, who had served as a staff director to Joe Biden for close to 30 years, when he left the Senate, I got to inherit that responsibility from him. And while I've not been quite as conscientious as Senator Kaufman, I've tried to make sure to come down on a regular basis and call out federal employees who deserve recognition, including even certain federal employees who work in the Senate. Today, I want to take a moment to recognize 3 federal employees who particularly are relevant to the debate we're having about budgets, because one of the issues we all have to recognize is we've got to find ways to make our federal dollars go farther. So I want to recognize 3 federal employees who happen to be Virginians who are working to make our government use data better to improve accountability and transparency. And these are individuals that, as chair of the Budget Committee's Government Performance Task Force, I've followed some of their actions. First, I'd like to recognize Timothy Gribben. Tim is the Director of Performance Management at the Small Business Administration, and in this role, he developed SBA's quarterly performance review process that is now considered amongst the best practices amongst other agencies. Because of Tim's commitment to transparent and accessible performance metrics, I know that doesn't give everybody's eyes shining, but performance metrics, something that I'm pretty interested in, the American public can now more clearly track the support provided to small businesses from SBA to see where our tax dollars are headed. Tim has been recognized by the White House's Performance Improvement Council and the American Association of Government Accountants for his leadership. Next, I'd like to recognize Christine Heflin. Christine is the Director of Performance Excellence at the Department of Commerce and has established the Performance Excellence Council to bring together performance leaders from across the department to exchange best practices. Because of Christine's expertise, she is sought out by other agencies for advice, and she leads Performance Management 101 trainings across the department to educate staff on the benefits of data-driven decision-making, the use of analytics, and performance improvement techniques. And finally, I'd like to recognize Michelle Silver. Michelle served as the program manager for the Bank Act IT modernization program. Under her leadership, the program was able to successfully modernize the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network's IT infrastructure. This significantly improved the ability of law enforcement, regulatory, and intelligence agencies to access and analyze financial data to detect and prevent financial crimes. And it's important to note that Michelle's management ensured that the modernization program was delivered on time and within budget. Because of people like Michelle and many other hardworking federal employees at the Department of Treasury, our country's financial system is at least safer now than it was before from emerging threats. Now, I know that performance metrics, data analysis, IT improvements aren't necessarily the subject of debates every day on the floor of the Senate. But regardless of how we get our country's balance sheet back in order, I believe that will require both additional revenues and entitlement reform, so we don't keep coming back to the small portion of our budget, which is the discretionary programs. But even with all of that, you're still going to need to make sure that you use those dollars we raise in the most effective and efficient process possible. I hope my colleagues will join me in honoring Mr. Gribben, Ms. Heflin, and Ms. Silver, as well as government employees at all levels around the country for their excellent work and their commitment to public service. Again, I remind all of my colleagues that as we debate budgets and we debate the future of our country, that there are literally millions of folks at all levels of public service who go to work every day to make our country safer, to make our country more efficient, to provide services for those who are in need. A few minutes earlier today, I was over with 7 DEA agents who had just received the Congressional Badge of Bravery, who had been recently deployed to Afghanistan. These are all the people that represent the commitments that we fight for here on the floor of this Senate. So with that, Madam President, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.